Hey guys, Matt here. Today we are looking at a really interesting knife. We are looking at the Kizer Begleiter, and this is in the Vanguard series. This is my first Kizer review, so this will be interesting. We are going to be looking at the what I like, what I dislike, and something unique. Before that, we'll look at the specs, but I also want to remind you guys to like and subscribe to the channel. Helps you keep up with the content flow. Hopefully, we are going to be doing some more adventure videos, maybe some motorcycle rides, maybe some hiking videos. So keep up with that content in addition to the core content of the channel, which is obviously knife reviews. Anyway, let's look at the specs of the Kizer Begleiter. So you're looking at a 3.5-inch blade made of VG10 steel. It is 0.13 inches thick. It comes to a relatively precise tip. The handle is 4.625 inches. The weight is going to be 3.8 ounces. And to buy this, you're looking at about 60 bucks. That's kind of a consistent price that I've seen throughout. These come in different colors, and they actually do make a smaller one with a sub 3-inch blade. But we're going to be looking at the full-size one. Let's get into what I like about it. So guys, first of all, what I really like is I really like the design of this blade. Generally, I do like full flat grind so long as the tips aren't too thin. That tip is relatively thin, but it's not going to be that thin to where I think that I would be worried about it snapping or breaking in any case. Let's look at another knife to give some size comparison and also to show you how much thinner the tip could be on this knife. So here's the Kershaw Leak, and this is a little bit of a smaller knife. This is going to be around the size of the small Begleiter, but look at how precise that tip is. That's a little bit too thin for me. If you look at them in comparison, you can kind of see that against the wood grain. This one's going to be a lot thinner, and I do worry about this breaking off. I don't use this for any heavy duty stuff. So I really like the design of this blade. It almost has a clip point feel to it, but it is a drop point with kind of a steep drop point right there. And I do like how this is full flat ground, but not so precise that I worry about it breaking. It slices very, very well, and yeah, I love the design of this blade. Another thing I really like is the handle. Now, there is something about the handle that I don't love, and we will talk about that and what I don't like, but I like the design of the handle overall. It's comfortable. You guys know I have really thick hands, and I can get my whole hand on there. There's no issue with me being able to hold this in my hand. I think the G10 is textured very well. It is, it's tractionable enough to where it's going to keep it in your hand, but it's not so tractionable that you're going to have the cold steel issues that you have with their pocket clips. So I like the blade style, and I do like the design of the handle. Another thing I like, just briefly, is I really like that touch of blue. I'm sure it's different colors on the different other Kizer designs, the other color versions of the Begleiters, but I just like when a company will put a touch of a different color. Benchmade does that sometimes with their knives. So I like that pop of blue. I think it sets it apart and actually makes it look more like a more elegant design knife. So I think that the blade is great, the handle is great, and actually the overall weight of this is very nice. 3.8 ounces makes it a relatively light carry. You see these liners. This is a liner lock. I usually don't say that in specs. Maybe I do. Who knows? This is a liner lock, obviously, and you can see that those are skeletonized liners. Makes this a nice and lightweight knife for being a full-size, 3.5-inch blade. Last thing I'll talk about that I like is how thin this carries in pocket. You guys can tell to bring out another example. So let's look at this Ontario Rat 1. Let's get these centered a little bit better. This Ontario Rat 1 has the same size blade. This is a 3.5-inch blade, just like the Kershaw Begleiter. But this knife carries a little bit heavier in pocket, one, because it's like a 5-ounce blade, and also it's just a little bit more bulky. It's not quite as precise. Let's line these up. You're looking at a 1/4 of an inch maybe on the bottom, but also still having plenty of room on this handle. And also, you just look at the width of this knife. This is a sleek knife that also can handle plenty of tough work. So I really like that. I will mention the steel. VG10 is a good steel, though I will talk about that later because I'm starting to notice something with VG10 that I want to talk about. Okay, so I like the blade, I like the handle, I like the pop of color, I like that it's thin. I think overall this is a very well designed knife. So let's talk about what I don't like. Okay, so I don't love this pocket clip. I like how low profile it is, how thin it is. That's going to be sleek in pocket, but Again, guys, I don't understand why we can't have a little bit of a lower carry. I have the same issue, especially with this thing. This thing is horrible pocket clip wise. But let's look at this. You know, that has the same issue. That much sticking out, it's not terrible. This much sticking out isn't terrible. But again, I don't see why the rest of the knives. This is the CRKT Jumbones, this big guy. You can tell the... Yeah, this thing's awesome. Look how big that is compared to that. So, but I don't understand why companies, you know, I think this is a common complaint, can't do more stuff like this. You know, you're doing a deep carry clip. You still have enough protruding to be able to grab the knife, but I would just like to see more deep carry clips. And that goes for a lot of knives, not just the Kizer. So I don't love, the way the clip is designed. So I mentioned I like the handle, and I think the handle is comfortable. There is one thing that I don't love about the handle, and you guys can kind of notice it if you look at it right here. So let's bring another knife on, for example, again. Let's look at the Rat again. Ontario Rat 1. When you look at this right here, the FRN is perfectly aligned with the scales. Sorry, this is going to be focusing weird. I'm getting the knife so close. The FRN is perfectly, flush with the scales. And what that does is, one, it shows that, you know, they machined it correctly, but also it makes it comfortable. There's no hot spots. There's nothing that is uncomfortable for me right here. This is a very comfortable knife to carry and to hold. Sorry, I bumped the camera. What they did right here, and this is intentional, it looks like, is they extended those scales a little bit beyond the G10, and you can tell that because you can very clearly see those scales beyond the G10. Now everything is very smooth, so this is clearly done intentionally. It's not like they just overlooked it. You know, it adds a little bit of shine to that handle when you look at it. You know, it kind of, oh, that looks a little bit nicer. But I can tell if in hard use there is a little bit of discomfort from those scales extending beyond that G10. Is it the end of the world? No, I don't think so. And, you know, a knife like this generally I doubt is going to be used a lot extendedly for a lot of things. If it was, I'd say gloves would probably be a good thing to have. Now, you guys let me know. I haven't used this very, very hard. I've used this here and there. But if that's an issue with you guys, if it's not, maybe I'm completely wrong on that. But I just don't love... I don't love that that's extended. I wish that it were flush. I think that it would be more comfortable for long-term use. So guys, that's really all I don't like about the knife. Overall, I think it is a very well-designed knife. It's sleek. It has a nice blade. It has a good handle material. I just don't love that pocket clip. Rides a tiny bit high for my taste, and I just think it's kind of ugly too. And also that those scales extend beyond the G10. So let's talk about something unique. And this unique thing is going to be something that is kind of common amongst these knife companies. So there have been a lot of foreign-produced Chinese knife companies that are coming out with really, really high-quality knives. And they're doing it for really, really cheap. So, you know, a while back, from what I know, I'm relatively young, so you older knife guys can kind of let me know. But VG10, you know, just until recently, and maybe still by some, was considered a super steel. You know, it is very rust resistant, but it also holds an edge relatively well. It's going to hold an edge better than your 420s, even, you know, your Boss heat treated 420s. Better than, as far as I know, your 14C28Ns, and better than your AUS 8, which is right here, AUS 8. Again, you know, this is most likely, as far as I know anyway, going to hold an edge better. This is AUS 8 as well, than these other knives. But this knife only being 60 bucks, even cheaper than this knife, you know, it's a good deal to have this steel. So I think what's unique about this knife is this is a knife that is coming from a foreign-produced company, which is very common nowadays, and it's coming with a steel that is considered a, you know, or at least at one point was considered a super steel. It's coming with G10 handles, a very well designed, very clearly this was thought through, you know, to skeletonize those liners to make it lightweight. Nice thumb stud too, I didn't mention that. It flips out very nicely, and the deployment on those phosphor bronze bushings is relatively smooth. You know, it comes right out. So I think that it is very cool that we're getting a lot of knives from these foreign produced manufacturers that, you know, they're coming very, very high quality. There's a lot of thought put into these knives, but they're able to come at us to a cheaper price point, which is great. So we're able to get these high quality knives for, say, 60 bucks. So I think that is unique about this knife. Overall, would I recommend it? For 60 bucks, guys, I think this is a great deal. So if you like the Kizer brand, you want to, or if you just want a good quality pocket knife, this is a good option. Another thing I do want to mention before we go is I would have preferred to have some jimping on that. I can't fully complain because other knives I love don't have jimping right there, but I think that would have helped a little bit with locking you in right there. So that's another thing I don't like, but it's not too big. Anyway, I would really recommend this, guys. I think it's a great deal for the price. So pick one up if you're interested. Guys, let me know what you think of the Kizer Begleiter, and we will see you in the next knife video. Peace.